And this is actually something that we reported as that was unfolding shortly before the election. But the FBI and Comey acknowledged there that there were two bad options. Concealment was one of them, which was not to say anything about the new batch of emails that were discovered, or catastrophic, and that would have been speaking about the case. So in the eyes of the FBI, and certainly in the eyes of the FBI director, they had two bad options there, and he got into this. And as you noted, Jamie, you talked about the sickening feeling to be in this position where you have to reopen an investigation during that period. So this was another revealing period of testimony by the FBI director. There are a lot of people who will look at this and say that this was classic Comey, really, in that a lot of surprises. He didn't reveal too much about the Russia investigation, but there was even some news made there.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. Lawmakers focusing much of their attention once the email conversation ended on the ongoing Russia investigation. Did you learn anything more on that front from today's hearing, or is this something that's kind of a launch point to future hearings moving forward?
Well, and that was interesting, too. You could hear the line of questioning from some of the senators there getting at perhaps what is some of the information that they have been briefed on. Now, keep in mind, this was an open hearing, but some of these senators are getting classified briefings, really all of them on this committee, getting some details in classified settings. And it sounds like there will be more opportunities for that going forward. But you hear in their line of questioning perhaps some clues into where this Russia investigation is going. We're now just under 10 months in, because it started last July. And so the FBI director did not want to reveal too much about that investigation. Again, he says that they will not comment on ongoing investigation, and that's what this is. But there were little tidbits there that he talked about. Perhaps, for example, he talked about where the investigation is going in terms of who may have been interviewed by the FBI. That was really something that he didn't want to get into. But he kept getting pressed by the senators there to provide more details, and he had to decline at this moment because this is an investigation that is ongoing.
Yeah, Senator Al Franken from Minnesota really trying to push him on that. He kept deferring. So one of the things that came out of the hearing involving the Russians is that he did say that the Russians are still involved in American politics. I think some people may have been a little surprised to hear that. We know that Sally Yates is set to testify on Monday. How do you think things will play out as we move into next week?
Well, that, and you point out whether this Russian interference will continue. That is something that U.S. officials have been concerned about. But I want to also go to a question that Senator Blumenthal of Connecticut asked of the director. He talked about the president and whether the president was somehow involved in this investigation, into whether there was collusion or coordination between Russian officials and Trump campaign officials. And on that question, the FBI director did not want to answer that question, but he was clearly struggling to answer that question. So I thought that was an interesting point as well.
Yeah. Did anything else stand out to you in today's wide-ranging hearing? I mean, they touched on so many different topics. It was even hard to keep up at some points listening for when people's time was up.
Well, he talked about WikiLeaks.
And Julian
Assange, and why he hasn't been arrested. Well, Comey said at one point, well, he's holed up inside the Ecuadorian embassy, but he indicated that they are interested in Julian Assange. And there were reports about a week and a half ago that DOJ is considering charges or bringing a case against WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. So that was an interesting exchange as well.
Jeff Pegues, really appreciate you taking the time for us. It was a very long hearing for you to listen into today. Thanks for answering our questions and for being available. We are awaiting the White House briefing. We will bring that to you live when it begins. For now, though, we want to take a quick break. We'll be right back.